go live. There we go.
Ooh, ooh. You shouldn't have warned me. It would have been more fun.
I gotta go. It's been nice seeing you guys. See ya.
It was a great discussion.
Thanks, Bruce.
Right.
Live long and prosper.
So we are discussing an Enterprise episode tonight, which is exciting. This is of the live action shows. I don't want to, slight the animated series, but of the live action shows of the first 5, this is the only one we hadn't discussed yet. So it's exciting to be able to cover the first 5 live action shows. So yay!
Yeah.
So we've done all the others. So we've done Voyager, Deep Space Nine, TNG, and TOS. We've done all those. Okay. Yep. I hadn't realized that, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because you know what, you guys, it's been a long road. Getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but my time is finally here.
Is this season 1 and 2 with the slow, nice music, or is this the dun dun?
No, this is season 1, baby. Okay. Season 1.
All right. Okay.
And I will see my dream come alive at last. I will touch the sky. And they're not gonna hold me down no more. No, they're not gonna change my mind. 'Cause I've got faith of the heart.
Wish I had tambourine.
No, what?
Yes.
I'm going where my heart will take me. I've got faith to believe I can do anything. I've got strength of the soul. And no one's gonna bend or break me. I can reach any star. I've got faith. I've got faith. Faith of the heart. It had to be done, you guys. It had to be.
Okay, now you move to commercials. They have to sing jingles from commercials.
Yes. Yeah. I actually last night when Dave and I rewatched the Andorian Incident, I know that he was just waiting to skip the credits, but I just started singing, and he just let me. He just let me go ahead and sing the whole thing because he's my sweet man.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm currently doing a rewatch of Enterprise with my fiance. It's her first time watching it. We're just coming up to In a Mirror Darkly, so we're just about at the end. And I've tracked the progress, and it really is true what they say. Like the first few episodes, newcomers are like, I don't know, skip. Skip. And season 4, we're both like, 'cause I've got faith of the heart. Yeah, we're all over it. And I'm sorry for this thing.
Was that singing?
Was that?
Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice. Oh.
It was warranted.
I do have to again say thank you to Suzanne for suggesting this one. And thanks to everybody who voted for it, because it brings me such joy to be
voted for it.
To talk. Nice. I did too.
It's the first one I voted for that actually won.
Oh, awesome.
Same here. So yeah. I'm so happy. So thank you, Suzanne, and thank you to everyone who voted. I really appreciate all of you.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is I love that we're doing an episode of Enterprise. It's taken us only 6 episodes to do all 5 series, by the way. That's pretty awesome. All 5.
Yeah, we've done well.
First live action series. Sorry, TAS. We'll get to you. It's only taken 6 episodes to do that, which is awesome. I love that we're doing Enterprise, and I love that we're doing a first season episode of Enterprise too. Like this is pretty cool.
Yes.
So I remember how early this was in first season too.
Episode 6.
Yeah,
very early on.
Yeah.
I remember back when Enterprise was first airing and how excited I was that the next episode was going to be the Andorian Incident. Because, Andorians, that's cool. Everyone's been wanting to see more of them. They've never been featured since Journey to Babel. We've seen them in the background. We've seen incidental Andorians here and there, but never like any kind of focus. So that was great. And even the title, The Andorian Incident, is just such a classic feeling title, like the Enterprise Incident or something like that, right?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I remember when that title was revealed, I thought, gosh, that sounds like a TOS episode title. And I always thought it was really strange that we got through, all those episodes of TNG and DS9 and Voyager and not having really any Andorians, like you're saying, except for maybe you see something in a background or something. And because we were revisiting all these other aliens, of course, Klingons and Romulans and on, but why never an Andorian? So I was like thrilled. Not that I'm like a big Andorian fan, but blue's my favorite color. But just like, I was stoked when we were getting the Andorians. And yeah, they looked a little different, the style of their antenna being more front and smaller than the back. But I was just like, I was stoked. Yeah, bring him on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, it was originally supposed to be Gorn.
I was reading that.
But the Gorn have been, have been shown to not be able to talk. So that wouldn't really do well for an episode. So they ended up going with Andorians, which I don't know why they wouldn't have just picked Andorians to begin with, because they're one of the founding members of the Federation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, of course, we want to see more Andorians.
Well, how would they have done Gorn? Because later in Enterprise, we do see Gorn. It was CG. They wouldn't have done all these like CG Gorn in that episode. It would have been too much. I mean, were they going to have the old costume and just slowly?
Well, see, that's why they decided not to do it, and to get to choose an alien that we didn't know very much about. Also, that they can talk. They can talk.
Yeah.
And plus, it does seem that in Arena, that's the first time Starfleet has encountered the Gorn, which I know hasn't stopped Enterprise. We saw the Ferengi, we saw the Borg. Okay. So, they could have written something, I guess, that would get around that. But I'm glad they didn't have to jump through those hoops. I'm glad we got the Andorians. Because with the Andorians, we, of course, get the return of Jeffrey Combs to Star Trek, playing Shran. And when I saw him as Weyoun in Deep Space Nine, first as Brunt and first as Tyrion, we don't talk about that episode though, but we saw him as Brunt and Weyoun in Deep Space Nine. I didn't think there would be a character that would like join the ranks of iconic secondary characters from him like Weyoun did, and Brunt a little bit, but Weyoun I just absolutely loved. Shran gets close, like he is up there. I love this guy. So let's talk about Jeffrey Combs and Shran a little bit here. What did you think of his introduction here?
I want to start. Obviously, I opened my mouth and then I'm like, oh, maybe I better say I'm going to start. I have loved Jeffrey Combs for some time. And the first thing I ever actually saw him in that I recalled that it was him was Reanimator, which my husband lovingly introduced me to in the early years of our marriage. So it's been a good, over 20 years that I have been a fan. He just immediately got my attention with Reanimator. And I'm like, I want to see everything this guy's in. And then they had, yes, thank you. And then they had this series for a while that it was supposed to only ever be a limited series. And it kind of got weird at the end. And I didn't really understand what the heck they thought they were doing, but it was called the 4400. And he showed up in the later seasons of that. And there was a just beautiful Reanimator reference in that without actually saying anything. It was just this vial of liquid that had this yellow glow like the reagent in Reanimator. And I'm just like, I doff my caps to you people at the 4400. So thank you for that. And when he started showing up in Star Trek, that made Brandi so happy. Happy. So I love Shran because he seems just like another kind of thug sort of person, but he's not. He's smart. And he needs to get rid of that one kind of rapey Andorian in his crew.
Yes.
He really needs to get rid of that guy. Because, he may be okay with torture, but he is not okay with sexual assault. So it's just interesting to see how he's introduced to us, because we're like, okay, this is not just another Andorian. This is not just some guy that's got to be in his bonnet about this, sensor array that's got to be here somewhere. So I think he makes it clear very early on that he is the leader and that he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I liked seeing Jeffrey Combs in this role when it came out. Again, I was more excited about just seeing some Andorians. I thought he's very good in this role, but watching this episode made me realize how much better this character gets and how much better Jeffrey Combs gets at playing him. Because to me, there isn't as much depth and dimension in this character at this point, which we get later.
Yeah, and I don't think that there was supposed to be that level of depth.
Yes,
I
I agree.
think that the audiences responded to Shran, and the
Absolutely.
people writing Enterprise were like, ooh, this could be fun. And so they gave him more depth every time we saw him. And every time he showed up, I was just like, yes!
But you know what I think makes his character so more interesting as time goes on is the relationship he has with Archer. That's like my favorite thing. My favorite Archer relationship with anyone is Shran. Like I could watch the two of them in every episode together. It's like Kirk Spock. It would be Archer Shran for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would love that. I would love to see Shran on the Enterprise, like as an officer, like part of the Andorian officer exchange sort of.
Yeah, because isn't that what they were going to do if they went to season 5? Isn't that?
Yeah, they were considering that. Yes.
Yeah, there
I would
was
have loved that.
There was definitely a plan to bring him on as a regular in season 5, from what I've heard. And like I said, I'm doing a rewatch right now, and we're right in season 4, and I think they had planted the seeds for that. There's a line, and we're jumping out of this episode now, but there's a line at the end of the United 3-parter, basically, where Shran says, when you lose a ship, they don't usually reward you with another one. It might be a while before I see you again. So I was like, ooh, he's going to fall out of favor with the Andorian Imperial Guard, and they're going to bring him over into Starfleet or something like that. But alas, it was not to happen. So Shran in this episode, initially, I feel kind of one note, right? Bit of an Andorian thug, that kind of thing. I think where there's just a hint of more depth to him comes at the very end of the episode, and it's that very small exchange. They discover that Pajem actually is hiding a huge sensor array and spies and stuff, and Archer orders T'Pol to turn over her tricorder readings, and Shran, he's about to just storm off, and he stops, turns to Archer, I am in your debt, and then walks away. And I was like, oh man, I'm so glad they had that line in there, because of that through line for Shran's character that we get through the rest of Enterprise now, that they keep owing each other one, basically. I love that.
Yeah, Archer is never thinking about that. Only Shran is.
Yeah.
Archer isn't keeping score.
No.
He's not keeping score.
Tell Archer that's 2 he owes me. And I think with Indie Arc, I think he says that.
Oh, yeah. When I was rewatching Enterprise, because honestly, I hadn't seen most of season 3 and most of season 4 because of scheduling issues. Love it. And when I got to the 4th season, what was I going to say? I totally lost my train of thought. I hate when I do that.
Sorry. I made you read the comment.
Gosh darn it.
I'm glad you picked that comment and not the earlier ones.
Yeah, I'm just now reading those.
I remember what I was going to say. Okay, so it was actually in season 3. And, we're getting to the last few episodes of the season, and I'm like, please, for the love of all that's holy, if you ever loved me, Star Trek, give me some Shran in this season. And they did.
Absolutely. So let's briefly talk about the plot of the episode. So the Enterprise is exploring around, doing their thing, being the golly gee shucks people of the galaxy. And Archer finds Pajem on the Vulcan star charts and says, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we check this place out? And T'Pol kind of passive aggressively does everything she can to discourage him, but like, okay, fine, I'll take you on a field trip to Pajem. And they get there, and as we've seen in the teaser before the credits, the Andorians have attacked this place, and they're, keeping the Vulcans hostage, basically, and the Vulcan monks are kind of doing the whole, pretending that they're not hostage, trying to get these people out of there so nobody gets killed thing. And of course, humans being the people that got to stick their nose in, they find the Andorians and get captured themselves. So the rest of the episode is them trying to escape the Andorians, who they think unjustly believe that this is a sensor array. Of course, it's just a monastery, right? It's just a place of quiet contemplation. There's no way the Vulcans would hide a sensor array there, because these are the Vulcans we know and love. They're very logical, and they would never do anything so duplicitous, right? So that's kind of what the episode is about.
Yeah, because we never saw Spock lie ever.
No, never. No. Biggest lie Spock ever told is, I'm a Vulcan. I'm incapable of lying.
Mm-hmm. That right there was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Yeah, watching this episode reminded me, because I don't watch. I'm not doing a rewatch. I just pick and choose episodes of Enterprise. But it's just like, I remember how watching this episode and those earlier episodes, just what jerks the Vulcans came across as. And once again, it's like, they're just deceiving and lying, and it's like, who are these people? I didn't have a problem. I remember people like, those aren't Vulcans. They're ruining Vulcans and stuff. I mean, I actually enjoyed it, but yeah, they're jerks.
They really can be.
Yeah.
We can't judge all Vulcans by the actions of a few.
Exactly.
And especially in season 4, when we see who the leader of the Vulcan High Command is, I mean, really, can you guess why some of these things happened? So I found it really interesting, because it was a deeper look into things that had been hinted at in other series. And for the Vulcans, I'm sure they found it a way to completely logic it in their headcanon as to why it was okay to do these things. Oh, it's okay to violate this treaty because it's logical, because these guys are so warlike, etc. Well, why are you so racist, Vulcans? Because they are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, they are really racist. I mean, look how they treated Spock, because he was half human.
Absolutely.
So they're really, if they spout this infinite diversity in infinite combinations, and yet they don't live it. Mm-hmm. I don't know anyone else who's like that. Oh wait, humans. Never mind.
Oh man! See, now I'm just flashing to that conversation between Admiral Forrest and Ambassador Saval when they're talking about how there is one species that Vulcans remind us of. It's humans. Yeah. But I'm glad we're talking about this, because that's one thing I wanted to bring up was the Vulcans in Enterprise, and I also, Bruce, remember people complaining about, these aren't the Vulcans we know and love from Star Trek. This isn't real Star Trek. They're getting the Vulcans all wrong. I feel like I've heard that phrase. Anyway, this is the perfect case for why, maybe you don't have to blindly like everything or go along with everything, but, maybe trust that things aren't what they seem. Now, I don't know for sure, and I can't say for certain that the creators of Enterprise had this plan to do this Vulcan Reformation in season 4. Season 4 was a completely different showrunner. It was Manny Coto as opposed to Rick Berman and Brannon Braga. So maybe this was never the plan. But if you watch the Vulcan Reformation in season 4, that event is almost as big a cultural shift as the original Surak was. Like, that's how it's framed in those episodes. Surak says, I don't want to see what happened to the Vulcans in my time happen again. It's up to you, Archer. So like, the Vulcans at this time have very much lost their way and are not following the teachings of Surak, and again, I don't know that was the plan from writing the Vulcans as they did in the first few seasons, but look at what amazing stories it gave us and how that turned out and how all of a sudden, oh, it does all fit in Star Trek history.
And that's what I love.
That.
I love that kind of stuff because, okay. At first, when I saw the Vulcans in this episode and other episodes, I was like, oh gosh, the Vulcans are jerks. I never thought of the Vulcans quite this way. And it changes them in the way I've seen them, but that's what I like. It's like, what Brandi's saying, not all Vulcans are the same. I don't want Vulcans to be just these like one-dimensional characters that they're all just, emotionless, boring, whatever, Vulcans, It's like, this gives it a twist, this gives it an interest, and this is a century before the original series, okay? So this is a century before. Let's allow the Vulcans to learn something. Let's allow Vulcans to grow and their society have depth and not everyone's the same. That creates them to make them more interesting, in my opinion. Not just give us what we expect. Oh, a bunch of logical Vulcans and we know what's going to happen and we know how they're going to act. Da, 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 da. Give us something like this, This is what I like, challenging the way we view things. That's why I like about discovering these other series. I'm looking at stuff out of watching Star Trek all this time going, I never looked at the Federation in that way. I never thought of Starfleet being that corrupt or losing its way itself in Picard. It's like, it's not perfect. And that's how we learn from things, from our mistakes. And that's what I enjoy about this new stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, where's my soapbox?
Okay. Get it. I just had this funny thought while we're having this discussion. You never, ever once have heard a fan say, "Oh, what did they do to the humans? They got the humans all wrong."
Right.
Absolutely. To me,
you know why though? Because we know that we're more complex. We're not one-dimensional. We're
and
not
then afford that to the other aliens, please.
Exactly. Yeah. And like going in the direction of what it adds to the story and that sort of thing, it kind of makes certain things make more sense. Like, why did the Vulcans join with Earth to form the Federation along with the Tellarites and Andorians? Like, they're pretty logical. They're pretty smart. They would only do it for like a really good reason. And if they're like, well, this influence from Earth completely reformed our society and got us back on track with Surak. Maybe there's something to these humans. Let's go forward with them in this plan. Like, I'm like, oh, that's just another piece in the puzzle that makes that all seem more real and more realistic. So, yeah, I love it.
Well, and the other thing that's also interesting about this episode and what we're talking about is, who would think that if you had an episode of Vulcans and Andorians, the Andorians look like the good guys at the end?
Yeah. Absolutely. I do remember that being such a shocking ending.
I loved it.
It's so great.
So perfect.
Oh, man. And even on a completely different level, that shot of the underground like sensor array, I always notice that like the computer consoles have blinky lights like 23rd century Starfleet ships and bright red railings. I'm like, Anyway, I wonder, I don't know who designed that, but I like them. That was a good touch. Oh, very man. Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the characters in this one. We talked a little bit about Shran. Because this is the first time we've talked about Enterprise, I'd like to talk about Archer a little bit. This is, like, I like to think of as like the G Shucks era of Enterprise, where they're like just so earnest and so,
they're fresh-faced and so innocent and so untouched by all of the horrors they're about to experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Captain Jonathan Archer, captain of the first Warp 5 ship. How do we think he's portrayed in this episode? Because one thing I remember is there was this kind of meme going through the first few seasons where they're like, oh, Archer's captured again. How do you guys feel he was shown in this episode?
Well, to be fair, they did try to help the Vulcans, and that's how they got captured. And it wasn't just Archer. And what was he going to do? Stand by and do nothing? That's not Archer. He was just going to jump in and help. He wanted to get to the bottom of what was going on there. And, he thought this guy was in danger, this elder, etc. And so, of course, he's going to jump in. He's gung-ho like that. And so untouched by tragedy. It's like... It's like when he's getting the crap beat out of him. I'm just like, oh, honey, you don't have any idea what you're in for. Oh, you think this is bad? Oh. So I love Archer in these early days because he really is just so enthusiastic to finally be out there exploring, because he has the heart of an explorer. He really wants to seek out new life and new civilizations and boldly go where no one has gone before. He wants that. He has wanted it his whole life. And now he's finally doing it. So.
Yeah, because it's not like, oh, I'm on a mission to go to this planet. It's like, hey, look, we haven't been there before. Let's go check it out. Hey, Trip, what do you think? I say we do it. Let's go. Hey, yeah, it's almost like, oh, gosh, okay.
What could go wrong?
And I like that about Archer's character in the earlier seasons. Of course, he gets, a little, it starts to, the galaxy starts to get to him at some point, with the whole Zindi arc and everything. But, he's wide-eyed Boy Scout out there, But then at the same time, while we're down on the planet and we're dealing with the Vulcans and the Andorians, he's very Kirk-like in this episode. I can definitely see a lot of the things that he's doing this episode could have been Kirk.
I get a definite Kirk vibe during the interrogation scenes, like you're talking about him being just like a bit of a smart aleck. Yeah. And also early on when him and Trip both like rush that divider because they see that they're behind them there. I definitely. Actually, Kirk Light kind of is not a bad description. I like that.
Kirk Light.
The only time he doesn't come across as Kirk is when he shares his blanket with T'Pol, because Kirk would have played that a little differently, I think.
Yeah. I want to bring this up because one thing we often don't do is bring up the credits for the creatives behind the show. So I think that's a good idea. So this story was by Rick Berman, Brannon Braga, and Fred Decker. The teleplay was written by Fred Decker and superbly directed by Roxanne Dawson. This is something that, like, her name comes up on Enterprise as a director quite a few times. I don't know off the top of my head how many times, but there's always just little things in the episode that show really great direction. And she's really become a superb director. And it shows in the episodes.
Still does direct. And just for those who don't know, because we assume everybody knows because we're all Trek fans, but she played B'Elanna Torres in Voyager, in case somebody doesn't know.
Yeah.
For sure.
I had to tell Dave that. I had to remind him. I said, oh, Roxanne Dawson directed this. And he's just got this kind of look like you're going to tell me who that is, right? Because he's not necessarily good with names, but if I say B'Elanna Torres, he knows exactly who I'm talking about. So
right. And I think the same thing came up with Nikki when we watch these episodes. Oh yeah, B'Elanna Torres, right?
Yeah, my wife would have not known that either. But people are like, wow, so a half human, half Klingon was directing an episode with Andorians and Vulcans and humans.
Oh, and she was so excited to be in on the ground floor of this series. She just loved going back to this era and seeing everything with a sort of new perspective. So she really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It shows in the interviews and stuff that I've seen for sure. Patrick mentions that she directed 10 episodes of Enterprise, so I will take your word for that. That's based on the number of times I've seen her pop up. I want
to verify that.
No, Patrick knows. I trust Patrick implicitly.
Yeah,
absolutely. So great direction. Again, just little things like what was the thing? It was like the 3 tiles used to show, like, I looked down the corridor and I saw these 3 lights, and then it fades and you see the, just like immediately the audience knows, oh, okay, I get it. Yep. Little things like that. I think she does a really good job for sure. So we briefly touched on this, but let's talk about T'Pol. Definitely a character who has a huge arc over the course of the Enterprise series. she is firmly enmeshed in season 1 to Paul in this episode. What did we think of that character and Jolene Blalock in this episode?
She's brilliant in every instant of T'Pol. In every second she's T'Pol, she's brilliant. Never had a complaint about her ability to portray the character. It is so fun watching season 1 episodes again and noting the differences, because sometimes you forget if you're going through a rewatch, and once you're in season 4, you know, like this is T'Pol, and you go back to season 1 and go, oh wow, she has been through some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's she plays it so well, especially certain looks that seem completely blank, but you absolutely know she's thinking, ugh. Like when they're trying to go down to Pajem, and she's like, we might be turned away, and all these reasons why they shouldn't go down, and Archer brings up, well, isn't this what we're out here to do? You know, learn about people, learn about the rest of the galaxy. And so you see this look on her face. It's like if someone were clenching their jaw, but her face is completely impassive. It's brilliant. She is so good at this character. And it's interesting because she is the one who says to Archer, you know, the elder is nervous.
Yeah.
And, you know, she knows something's going on as well. And I think that she was more trepidatious about going there with humans because she knew how it would look to the Vulcans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that I think was her big thing. And I think that's pretty clear in this episode.
I think so. And I think it's brilliant how clearly that comes across with the character that she has to play, who is so staid and emotionless, but you still get that, I want to say, embarrassment that she's seen with these humans, which I think is, you know, very subtly but very well played. And I'm glad you brought that up, Brandi, about her being the one to alert Archer to what's going on here, because, you know, you would expect she'd be looking for any excuse to get out of there, but at the same time, she recognizes that something's going on and isn't afraid to bring it up and say, like, something's going on here. We need to look closer at this. I love her performance in this episode.
I'm glad to hear all this because I don't hear this enough or rarely at all about her performance as this character. I always thought she was fantastic, and I just never really hear many people mention it. And maybe it's because I don't hear people talk about Enterprise as much as some of the other series. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it's just, you know, unless I'm listening to Warp 5, of course, but you know,
do we drink for, I don't
well, yeah, she's so good to me in this. And I don't know how to say this because I'm not very good with words. I'm just good with feelings, but I almost like her portrayal of a Vulcan more so than how Vulcans have been portrayed by other lead actors in series. I'll just put it that way. Only because I think she does a brilliant job of just putting enough of a little bit of emotion where it doesn't go over the edge. It just is right there to the point. Like, I thought Vulcans don't have emotions or don't display emotion, but I sense that there is emotion under there, and it's not quite coming to the surface, but I can kind of see it there. It's right on that edge. I love how she does that. And maybe she's not even doing that on purpose. Maybe she's not that good of an actress.
She's brilliant.
But I just think, so I'll give her credit for that. But I just love the looks that she gives. I could just watch the camera on her the whole time. And instead of just being a Vulcan of just not showing emotions, you can just sense everything she's thinking and feeling, even though it's all under this veil of not having emotions. I love it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No. By all means. I was going to do a complete left turn, so
that's okay. Well, just my last thing that I want to say is that it is unfortunate that she was also there as just eye candy for the demographic, and that they made her wear those ridiculous cat suits. I hate them. And I can't say she probably enjoyed them either. Because remember the episodes when we saw her in a Starfleet uniform?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That was amazing. She looked fantastic, just like
Mhm.
Troy looked fantastic in a Starfleet uniform.
Absolutely.
And how is that less sexy? Just because you can't see every curve of her body, is suddenly she's not sexy? What's wrong with you?
There's one of my, like, I love season 4 of Enterprise, and I do like the season 3 and 4 costume better than the season 1 and 2 obvious total catsuit. But season 4, she joins Starfleet. Like, they had the opportunity there to just put her in a uniform, but no, we just had to add some Starfleet embellishments to her civilian clothes, I guess. That was weird, but Brandi, I was thinking you could probably take this comment if you wanted to.
Suzanne, come on, you really know what Warp 5 is. Come on.
But for anyone else who might not?
For anyone else who might not, it is the currently in hiatus podcast for Star Trek Enterprise. I did spend a year on that show, and my love for the show grew because of that. So I'm very grateful for the time that I got to spend there, so that I could have even more appreciation for this show that I think is vastly underrated by the bulk of Star Trek fans.
So if you do want to hear somebody speaking passionately about Enterprise and you love Brandi as much as we do, check out the back catalog, because great show. Anyway.
So enjoyed
it. Yes. So
wait, let me just say something about the catsuit thing. I agree with you guys on that. But I will say I thought this catsuit was a little more appropriate than the catsuits that 7 of 9 wore.
Yeah, but they're still catsuits, and it's not appropriate ever.
No, but I'm saying when I was watching
no, I know.
Voyager, I was like, the cats, I didn't really care for that. I didn't think it was all that great. Whatever. But then when we got to Enterprise, it's like, oh gosh, we're doing the catsuit again. I'm like, yeah, well, at least this one doesn't look as bad to me. That's all.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of bugged me, and it's later in season 1, and I think it's actually Shadows of Pajem, which is kind of the sequel to this episode. We see another Vulcan cruiser and crew, and we meet a guy who's referred to as Subcommand or something. And I'm like, well, is he going to be wearing the same catsuit?
Yeah.
No, he's got a perfectly functional, normal-looking uniform.
I would have loved that. Not that I want to see a man in a catsuit, but I would have loved to see a man show up in a cat. They'll be like, "Oh, there you go. They all wear that." Okay.
Yeah. See, now it's not sexism. It's all equality, because they all wear the same thing. But no, that's not what
they should have had, as the seasons went on, instead of maybe getting T'Pol in a Starfleet uniform, have all the Starfleet officers in catsuits over time.
No, let's
even
not.
Phlox in a catsuit. There
Actually, he would just strut his stuff, because Phlox has no shame whatsoever.
He is such a physical actor too.
Oh, I love John Billingsley. I love him. Love him.
He'd have fun with it.
Yeah, I did enjoy him in this episode, the small part that he got to play, because it was a very important part where he's just like, he's calling T'Pol on her BS.
Yes. I love that scene.
It's so great.
I forgot about it until you brought it up. And especially when he reaches over and touches her plate to get that celery stick. I was like, oh, don't do that. Vulcans don't touch their food. And you're touching her plate of food,
And then he's got it halfway to his mouth, and he's like, may I? Maybe that's something that Denobulans just do, and so they're unused to asking permission. That's the kind of the feeling that I got. I don't know if we ever really got an explanation for that behavior, or maybe he was doing it just to make her uncomfortable. I don't know, but whatever it was brilliant.
Could have been a bit of both. Like, it works really well in the scene and as a character quirk. Like, I think that's pretty good. I love John Billingsley. This is totally off topic, but I'm also watching Stargate with my fiance. First time she's seen it. And the episode The Other Guys, where he shows up with Canadian actor Patrick McKenna, and they have this back and forth. And at the time they filmed this, he was starring as Phlox on Enterprise as well. And he shows incredulousness for the fact that Patrick McKenna's character is such a Star Trek fan. It's like, oh, you're such a Star Trek nerd. And the other guy's like, I can't believe you as a scientist don't worship at the altar of Roddenberry. And John Billingsley is like, I never got Star Trek. I whatever. I'm just like, I love this. It's so great.
Oh, the fans were just squeeing all over the place.
Yeah.
I know, absolutely. I was. So, and then we got Connor Trenier in Stargate Atlantis playing of Wraith.
Yes, absolutely. Right over my shoulder there. But so that's a perfect segue into Trip in this episode then, because I think he's another character that definitely lends towards my opinion of this, like the golly gee shucks era of Enterprise. He definitely embodies that. But I love him in this episode. He's just so Trip. And he's a character that, again, has a huge arc over the course of the series, but he's never not Trip. Like, he is just that character. I have to admit, the first time I heard him speak, not as Tucker, and found out that he's from Washington State, I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I've always loved him as Tucker. What did you guys think of, particularly in this episode, his performance?
You go
I always
first.
love Tucker. Yeah, Tucker's always one of my favorites. I mean, I don't think there's an episode I don't like him on, even if he's getting pregnant and something weird. I mean, yeah, bring me more Tucker. I like him on here too because I don't know. I mean, I like him in every episode. It's like, I don't know if I like him any more in this episode than any other. I think the thing that I liked is just him in the catacombs and helping, try to find his way through and get, transmission to the Enterprise and stuff, and just kind of palling around with Archer and like, we'll tackle that Andorian hiding behind there and all that stuff. I actually, you know what it is? I could have used more Trip in this.
That's fair.
I get that for sure. I love his little Tripisms, like just the like, don't get your antennas in a twist. All his little stuff like that. He's just, I love him. And yeah, I could have used more of him for sure as well.
Yeah, and I love, the Vulcans saying, oh, well, this transmitter hasn't been used in years. And he's like, I never met a radio I couldn't fix, sort of thing. Just that, aw shucks, I can do this. Just let me at him. So, but he actually has the skill to back up that. So I've always loved Trip, and he rips my heart out, but that's why I have the novels.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil things for people.
Yeah, at first I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Now I'm with you.
Right there with you.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I guess there's nothing really that stands out about Trip in this episode other than that he's there and being Trip, I guess, which I do love. I do want to talk about Reed a little bit in this episode.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Because I think he plays an important role, and there's some fun stuff with his character here. So based on the enthusiasm, Brandi, I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay, I love that he's in command while everyone's gone. And I love that he is so paranoid because he's right. He's just like, well, why didn't we see this before? And why haven't they checked in yet? And everybody's like, you're overreacting, especially Hoshi. She's like, you're overreacting. No, you gotta have somebody like that as your security officer. You absolutely need that, because they are the ones who are going to find the things that you miss, that you're just like, oh, it's all fine. Not Reed. No. Nothing gets by him on his watch. Absolutely not. So I loved seeing him in the captain's chair and saying, well, why haven't they done this? It's been this long since they've beamed down or just since they've taken the shuttle down, and communication gets cut off. And he's just like, no, they're in trouble. And he's even the one that's just like, okay, we're using the transporters. He's just like, he's just all business, and he gets stuff done, and he brooks no BS about it. He's just like, nope. This is what we're doing. So
Yeah,
even
'cause
when he's ordered to not mount a rescue mission, he's like, mm-mm.
Yeah, because Archer said he would come in with guns ablazing or something like that. Like, he would just take it a little too far. Like, Reed just goes a little too far with it. He gets too excited about being security chief.
Yeah, and what does Archer say? He said, I didn't pick my security chief so they'd sit on their ass or something like that. I didn't,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
Exactly.
And yeah, you mentioned the transporter. I love that scene because this is his first trip through the transporter, and of course the security no names definitely their first trip. So
The red shirts and
yep,
for all intents and purposes.
absolutely. Energize before we change our minds.
Yeah, just a slight little bit of levity there, just the tiniest bit.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah, he's got that look of steel in his eyes, and then he like glances up at the transporter. He's like, energize before we change our minds.
And there's a guy behind him that didn't really want to use the transport, and he's just like,
yeah.
He didn't want to get on the pad, and Reed's like, get your butt up here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved Reed in this episode. It was
sure.
I had forgotten his part in this, and so when I realized, well, of course he's in command. And, I'm like talking back to the screen like you do when you've seen something a lot, or even when you haven't, and you're in your own home. And he's saying, well, they should have checked in by now. And I'm like, yes, they should have. Go with that feeling, Reed. You get on it.
Yeah. I always expect the line to be something like, it's like, they should have checked in, blah, blah, blah. You can't expect them to check in every 10 minutes. Well, you say that, but every week something happens.
And well, maybe that should be standard procedure.
Exactly.
Everything that he thinks they should be doing. And Hoshi's like, no, they're probably just doing, no, this should be standard for when you have the captain go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the top 3 officers on the ship.
Yeah,
leaving the ship as you do.
Well, it's a prequel, so you have to do that. You can't not do that, because that can't suddenly just be a new rule in TOS. That stupidity has to have started somewhere. And it started in Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on Reed, Bruce?
No, sorry. I'm charging my phone, and it keeps like somebody's calling me right now. Another co-host of another podcast that I do. Okay. What are we talking about again?
Reed, do you have any more to say about Reed?
About Reed? I don't think so. I think everybody covered everything. I'm good. Yes, I'm good with Reed. But I like that he's a fighter. Yeah.
Absolutely. And he likes blowing stuff up, which he gets to indulge in this episode.
And sometimes it's kind of hard to really, because what I would say about Reed really has a lot to do with what we learn about Reed as the season and the series goes on, So again, this early in it, we're learning a little more how probably outside of Worf and Tasha Yar, that of security chiefs, he's like one of the most gung-ho, like those two are,
Yeah, I think though that the situation warrants it. Like, this is the first ship that has Warp 5 capability, and they're going places that no humans have ever gone before, literally. So of course you want that guy that thinks everything is a trap, that thinks that they should have all of these different protocols. You want that guy with you. Absolutely.
Well, and you want that guy, but that guy's not going to be happy when you bring Makos to the ship then.
Oh, no. That power struggle was not fun, but it ended up all right. It's kind of, no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just remembered what happened to Hayes.
Oh, man. That was brutal. The one thing that occurs to me just now as I'm thinking about it, having watched this episode, is I got a bit of and this is going to sound weird, but bear with me. I got a bit of a Scotty vibe from Reed in this episode. And specifically in the original series episodes when Kirk, Spock, and McCoy were captured on the planet or something, and Scotty was left in command. Like, he was always really like, taking no crap from anybody, like you know, for example, Ambassador Robert Fox is on the bridge and Scotty has no problem ordering General Order 24, which is to like glass the surface of a planet. And like, he's just like the officer you want in command when the big guys aren't there.
I hadn't thought
thought
about that. I totally see that now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought
agree.
about it till just now. And I'm like,
Well, yeah, it didn't occur to me, but you're absolutely right.
no. Oh no. Okay. Everybody don't talk about Hayes.
Chris has been doing this entire show.
I know.
Isn't Hayes the technical manuals or whatever for the
I believe you'll find that's Haynes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, Major Hayes.
So is there anything that we haven't talked about with regards to this episode that you guys would like to bring up? Okay.
Oh, I don't have anything. I'm just sure there is something. Yes.
I'm sure.
I'm letting the chat tell us unless Brandi has some.
No, I just I was really uncomfortable with Rapey Andorian.
Oh,
he was really making me feel kind of sick, and obviously he was making everybody feel kind of sick in that room. And interestingly, he never did that stuff in front of Shran, because I think he knew that Shran would have shut that down.
Yeah. I feel like he was a bit of a character archetype where. And I mean, I'm not necessarily slagging on the military or anything like that, but there seems to be that one character that, you know, maybe has joined the military or something to indulge in these kind of sick impulses, I guess. And that's a very good observation that he doesn't do that when Shran's around. Like his CO doesn't see this, right? He's probably a good fighter. He's probably very good at what he does because he enjoys it. And, you know, there might be some stuff that maybe even his commanders look the other way on or something like that. And it's a character I've seen come up before in other stuff and like in other shows other than Star Trek.
Yeah.
So it felt very familiar and really gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and it's something that many women have experienced at least once in their life, not necessarily because they were in captivity, but most of us have had an experience with some skeevy guy, you know, thinking he's being so hot and amazing, or thinking that he can exert power over a female and trying to, you know, make her uncomfortable and make her feel small. And that's what this guy was doing.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bruce.
No, I've thought of some other things I did want to bring up, but not related to the scuzzy dude.
Okay. Well, I'm done talking about Rapey Andorian. So.
Okay. Well, no, forget that lead in. So the scene I mentioned it earlier when we're talking about very Kirk light, but the scene with Archer offering the blanket to T'Pol.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember at the time when I was watching this as it originally aired, because like we said, we're only like 6 episodes into the series. I was wondering, and I know fans were speculating, will Archer and T'Pol get together? Will, you know, they be interested in each other or whatever? Of course, we find out later it's someone else. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, Chris Littlefield. But, you know, but I remember at that time when he offers her the blanket, I was like, oh, we might see a little spark or something there. This might be the first indication that there might be something between these two that's going to develop over time. And that scene is not played like that at all. And that's what I'm saying. If it was Kirk, it would probably play differently. But I mean, it was just very professional. He was just, you know, offering the blanket. And I'm glad they didn't go to that cheesy route of, oh, look, they're looking at each other and oops, he slipped and, you know, bumped her or something, whatever, you know. They didn't go that route. And I really enjoyed that about it. So,
yeah. And it's another thing. I love how Jolene Baylock plays it as well, because she's Vulcan, she's unemotional, but she's still going to be passive aggressive. I love that. Like when she rolls over and whips the blanket, so she's got it all. I'm just like, that was great. And Archer's like, what just happened?
That is something that Vulcans, as a general rule, excel at, is passive aggressivism.
Yes.
They're very good at it.
And you know, sometimes I wasn't going to bring this up, but it just reminded me of this too. But you know, the comments about humans smell and how they smell, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable because there's people who have been racist that talk about other races smelling, and it reminds me of that. It feels like the Vulcans are even more jerks than what I mentioned before. So, but I think that's pretty interesting that they do that too, because it just makes them feel like bigger jerks to me. And also a little nitpick in the episode is when Archer he takes that little statue, that little figurine or whatever, and he's going to throw it into the eye or the mouth of that thing out in the lobby. I call it the lobby because isn't that the main area they go into?
It's the lobby. Yeah, the lobby.
How did he know that the Andorians were going to take him out to the lobby to begin with?
Because he told them to get him out of there.
Yeah,
and so where else are they going to take him?
Well, if you look at the exterior shots of this monastery, it's like a couple stories, and it looks, like there's fairly, many rooms probably in this place or whatever. And to say, hey, I need to talk to you. How do you know they're going to take you right onto the lobby? That's on my
because that is as far as the set extends.
I know.
He realized he's on
the atrium. Yes, Liam, exactly, the atrium.
Yeah. Well, lobby. He realized he's on a Star Trek show.
The foyer.
And he's like, I've watched Star Trek The Next Generation. We only ever see about 5 rooms on that ship. And that ship's, so I've only seen 2 rooms. It's going to be those 2 rooms. That's it.
I think it would be funny if he was just like, Strand is taking and Archer's like, no, I don't want to go in this room. Let's talk somewhere else. Okay. And they take no, I this room drives me. If you want me to talk to you, you got to take me to the foyer, to the atrium, to the lobby. Right. These pink skins are annoying.
Well, speaking of the atrium, though, I do like this comment by Liam Smart. How good did the monastery atrium look, though? Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the set design, because I think it was minimal. Like, we only see those 2 rooms and then the catacombs and then the sensor array at the end, the CGI. But, it's gorgeous. I love the big, heavy doors that have the hinge in the middle. And there's a bunch of that big face, that gets blowed up good. There's some good stuff in this episode. It looks really cool.
Yeah. I think that, going back to Bruce's nitpick, if you go back and really watch the episode, after they've been discovered by the humans, basically all their communication and scanning equipment is in the atrium. And so where would they go if they were going to question some guy? They're not necessarily going to take him somewhere where their stuff's going to be left unattended.
Yeah.
That's all I can think.
No, that works.
But really it's just because set.
I know. Well, and that's the other thing. I think this episode would have been interesting if the sets were bigger in some cases, and we saw more different areas of the monastery. And I really believe I would have liked to see even more monk Vulcans there, as opposed to just like a handful of them. And that Andorians, if they really thought there was a listening outpost there and wanted to find it, I just feel like they probably would have brought even more than just 4 of them. Yeah. But that's because of budget and all that. I know.
Yeah.
I get it.
If it was a motion picture, we'd see something different for sure. But
yeah.
So anything else that we haven't brought up that you guys would like to discuss?
No, but I do like it when the one Andorian comes into that room and they're all like sleeping, and he's just shining the flashlight and they're all just looking at him like, get out of here. You're trying to sleep. And then he leaves, and of course Trip's like, all right, let's go. I hear thunder.
Ooh.
Chris Littlefield's jumping the gun a little bit.
All right, that's the first one. I was going to write titles down without asking. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
One other thing that I will mention is Travis had a line.
Yeah, well,
yes.
I put it in the comments at one point.
Whole line. They had no idea what to do with that character.
No,
Oh,
Or
I know.
Travis. They had places they could have gone with him, and they just did not
I
bother.
know. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. The most character
Oh.
development we got was when his dad died.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we didn't get much
season
of
3
Hoshi
is
either.
tragic for Travis. He's got nothing to do that whole season,
Yeah.
except get shot at by P-51s in the last episode. Anyway.
yeah. Most of the time, it's like if he goes anywhere, he's just there as the heavy, standing there looking big.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but he got some good stuff then in season 4.
yeah.
Okay, TJ Zamboni Schwartz, you just made a Vestibules reference, and that just, I'm so tickled. That's amazing. Thank you.
Oh.
Awesome. I just want to bask in the glory of that. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else knows what the heck we're talking about.
I don't.
Excellent.
Why is that excellent?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, look up Bulbous Bouffant and well earned, sir. Well earned.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh, okay.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So do we want to ask the crowd, the chatters, the viewers, our fellow watchers,
Our people.
their ratings for this episode, I guess. And I'm sure these ratings would be very different from watching it back in season 1 to begin with, and then watching it now with the whole context of Enterprise, which I always find it interesting to go back and watch these with that in mind. So
yes, and no ratings that say 7 of 9.
So, Bruce, what are your final thoughts and ratings for the Andorian Incident?
Oh, that's a good question, Dan. Let's see here. Would you like to try some of my sweaty? I would say that this is probably one of my favorite Enterprise episodes. I'm a big fan of season 4. Season 4 is one of my favorite seasons of all Star Treks. But this episode is probably one of maybe my favorite of season 1. Because I really love seeing the Andorians back. I love how we learned that the Vulcans aren't always perfect and they can be jerks. And I love that. Who would have thought that the Vulcans were spying on the Andorians? Like, I didn't expect that when I first watched this episode. And I thought it was really good. And I thought there was some great character moments in this. So overall, yeah, I would give this 9 out of 10 antenna that move.
I like it. I've always, just on that for a second, they've always said that like they're operated by remote control from someone else. Has anybody seen footage of them doing that? Because I would love to see that. I haven't seen them actually doing it. That would be really cool.
I haven't either. But I love that they actually move because it's necessary. I mean, that's what antennae do. Otherwise you wouldn't have them. So I love how it depends on what is being expressed by the Andorian in question. Like Shran, when he says, before he leaves, when he says, "We're in your debt," and his antennae just moved like straight here and kind of pointed at Archer. And I was like, ooh.
And like surprise in later episodes, like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is in season 3. He's on the Enterprise in Archer's ready room, and there's like that low beam, and he's walking, and they just go like.
It's fantastic.
So Brandi, final thoughts and possible rating?
Of course. I adore this episode. It is my favorite season 1 episode. And there are some really great episodes in season 1, but this one is my favorite because it brought me another Jeffrey Combs character that ended up returning in future seasons, which I love. I will watch Jeffrey Combs in anything, you guys. Absolutely anything. I love the man. I hope someday he comes to a convention in Utah so that I can just fawn over him and make him super uncomfortable with my fandom. I really love the start of this. There's so many things that are given to us. There's so many gifts about both Andorians and Vulcans and even humans that are given to us in this episode. So it definitely gets 9 hidden sensor arrays out of 10 for me.
Yeah, my thoughts are pretty much aligned, I think, with your guys. I remember loving this one when I first saw it, and then in retrospect, liking it even more because, yeah, it gave us Shran and set all of these things in motion. And like this episode has ripples that impact through the series right up through season 4. Like the destruction of the Pajem monastery, which happens after this episode, is in Shadows of Pajem later this season. And that is referenced in season 4 when it's revealed that T'Pol's mother lost her position because of this incident, because of what T'Pol did and stuff in her role in this. So like, I love that this has built lore for Enterprise as a whole, and then for Star Trek as a whole, with the whole, how the Vulcans, what their story does after this and stuff. So yeah, a great episode. I think I'd have to say 9 out of 10 things that Reed gets to blow up. So yeah, it's a great episode for sure.
Yeah. You know, it's topics like this, talking about Enterprise, that really start to irk me, especially in the first season, because I just remember at the time, so many people I was hearing online who are Star Trek fans, I'm not going to watch Enterprise. It's a prequel. I don't care. And all this stuff. And I'm like, you're missing out on this kind of good stuff. Like, we need to support it so it stays on the air. And a lot of people weren't giving it a chance. And I hate that.
Yeah.
No, it's too bad. I honestly have watched every Trek series, every
Same.
single one, and I have enjoyed every single one. I did not enjoy 2 of the 3 Kelvin movies, but I enjoyed one of them. So I'm never going to not watch Trek. I'm one of those people that I'm like, yeah, give me all you got. Just let me have it, because I need that buffet of different things. Nobody wants to eat the same thing over and over again. Okay, some people do, but I'm not that person. I want so much more from Trek, and it has so much more to give.
Yeah.
And it still, to this day, makes me sad that so many people still crap all over Enterprise. They don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, but the thing is, I hear more and more people say, oh, I've really discovered that it's really good. I like it. And it's like, yeah, you didn't give it a chance, and now you're watching it on Netflix or something. You're like, actually, this is pretty good. Oh, great. Well, you're late to the party. Sorry. If anybody is listening that falls in that category, I'm sorry. I was just very disappointed back then. That's all.
No, I get it.
But
sure.
you know, I really like, you know, I don't know how we're going to pick episodes for the T'Pol for next week, but I'd sure like to see some of those Kelvin timeline movies on there for Brandi.
Oh God. I don't think I can sit through Into Darkness again without, I don't know, a lot of alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, I have thoughts on that. So
I have thoughts
could be interesting. So I was thinking about how do we pick episodes for next week. I think, despite the debacle of last week and what your ridiculous phone picked, I think one of our episodes should still be picked in that random way. I like that.
Oh.
And then I was thinking, like, each of us could pick a number between 1 and 20. We do the thing, and then that person gets to pick an episode, or however you want to do it. So for my round, I'm going to say, starting now in the chat, choose a number between 1 and 20. I've written down the number, and the first person to get it can choose the episode. Any film, any episode, any series, go. So, and like I said, I've written down my number. It's on the back side of this. So
I want to guess the number, but
okay.
Was anybody
we have Lawrence Todd with 12. I did in fact choose 12. So
I was going to pick 9.
So Lawrence, what is your choice for an episode or a film? Any film, any series? Star Trek.
Yes, please, Star Trek.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing here.
All right, so
And
just waiting on Lawrence Todd. And I think there is a bit of a delay between when we see the comments here on StreamYard versus when they show up on YouTube. So be patient with us.
Yeah.
You should be able to see it soon.
Yeah. Well, and he probably needs some time to think about it too. So maybe we should move on and come back.
Okay.
But anytime, Lawrence, you can put it in there. We'll catch it.
Yeah. So Lawrence Todd, choice pending. Bruce or Brandi, whoever wants to go next. And however you want to choose a person.
Okay. Okay, so I'm wearing a t-shirt right now, and it says something on the front. It's not Star Trek. You can't see it, right? You can't see what it says. Okay. It is a university. Go. Whoever gets it first. There's a lot of universities to choose from. Who guesses right on what university is on my t-shirt gets to pick the episode for the poll. So good luck with that. If you really know me, you'll probably get it. That's why I'm thinking this might come up pretty quickly. No, it's not UGA, but that's a very good choice since my daughter is going to go there next year. By the way, my daughter finished high school today. She's now officially done.
Oh, congratulations. Awesome.
Oh, someone's very close, but not quite right. Should I say who was close?
No.
Okay.
Just let them go, I think.
Let them go for a while. We could be here all night, depending.
University of Adelaide, South Australia. You're so funny, Liam.
And it doesn't say Starfleet Academy, although I do have a shirt this color that does say Starfleet Academy. I will give everybody just a little hint to narrow it down. The school is in the northeastern part of the United States.
Ooh.
So, How King got it right. Penn State, yes. Dun, dun, dun.
Nice.
Yes. That's where I went to school. Yes, thank you. So
how?
Yes.
Pick an episode or a movie.
Yeah,
episode or movie, any Star Trek one. Lawrence Todd, by the way, picked the Corbomite Maneuver, which I'm very excited about. So
cool. Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. Christopher Hill, Harvard. I took a class at Harvard last year. And let's see if any other schools. Auburn, my kid looked at that school too. I'm just looking at my here. Yeah, go Dogs. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I was just curious about the other. So okay.
Going back in the comments, I do have to say Chris Littlefield did say Penn.
But that's where I said it was close. There's Penn and there's Penn State.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I don't know those things.
They're two different schools. University of Pennsylvania and then Pennsylvania State University. So yeah. There you go.
All right. So Hal Kane, you have the next choice, and in the meantime, we've already got a pick. So Yesteryear, yes,
awesome. Nice one, nice. I'm excited. I'd love to do that one.
Yes, we haven't done TAS yet.
We haven't.
That's true.
Okay, so Brandi, how are you going to pick your champion?
That's a good question.
Okay. It doesn't have to be unique, too. You can do the same thing I did if you want.
No, it's okay. I'm thinking. Okay, I have a small notebook in my hand, and whoever can guess the color of the cover of this notebook, the overall color, because it actually has more than one color on it, but the overall color of this notebook, first person to guess it.
I have my pick. I have my guess, but I'm not going to do it until I'm here.
So guess what color this small notebook is.
I think I'm wrong, but I have my guess. Because it was the first color that popped in my mind. That's why I'm going to go with it.
You should just...
you got lots of guesses in here.
No.
Blue, red, green. So mine was green, so obviously that wasn't right either. So okay.
See, black, purple, schnozberry.
It's definitely not schnozberry. Nope.
Wow. I know.
You know. What's going on with you, Bruce? Why are you going crazy? Oh, still no correct answers.
Ooh,
Wow.
wow.
Interesting. Christopher Hill got it. It's orange.
Oh,
Oh.
I didn't
You know, it's
know.
funny. That's what popped into my head too. Like at the very beginning, I was like, orange.
I thought it was yellow.
Oh, I have a yellow one here somewhere. And I also have a red one. I have one in every color, really. So, Christopher Hill, you get to choose an episode or movie.
Awesome. So yeah, Chris Hill,
Into
third
darkness.
choice.
I'm sorry.
Any Star Trek film, any Star Trek episode. Star Trek Beyond is his pick.
Beyond.
All right.
Oh, but Brandi likes that one. Oh, wow. I would love to watch it. It's been a while since I watched that one.
So Bruce, do we want to make use of
Oh,
your
the random.
again? Yeah.
It's funny, what we now call the sewing room, because my youngest daughter wants to say fashion design. She's sews
Nice.
upstairs. The other night she goes, Dad, I usually can't hear you when you're doing a podcast, but the other day I heard you going, give me a number between 1 and I was like, oh, because I was charging my phone. And I was like trying to be loud enough so everyone can hear me. But my phone is now charged. So I need to get a new phone. It's not really working right. Okay, so do we continue to have the animated series lumped in with TOS? That's how I do it. I'm just saying.
We can capitulate to the crowd if you want and make that a separate category or not. I don't know. I feel like the number of episodes of TOS and TAS combined is still way less than the number of episodes of TNG DS9 Voyage. So I'm like,
but not of Picard.
That's true too. So that comes into it as well.
Oh, they want it separate so far.
It looks like most people in the crowd are saying separate. So
okay.
Yep.
So 1, 2.
I haven't seen any votes for together. It's all been separate votes. They
That's
want
cool.
to be separate. They want to secede from the original series.
It's like I'm not used to saying more because we're getting all these series. So we have 8 series then, right? Is that my count is correct?
Are we doing the films separate as well? Or
and then, well, let's ask the group. Do the films go separate, or are they lumped in like a season, an extra season for TOS and TNG? And I guess the Kelvin movies would go in with the TOS. I don't know. Maybe they should be separate. Movies separate or within? Separate.
Thunderdome. 2 things enter. 1 thing gets on the pole.
Yeah, make it separate 1 to 13 or something like that. Or 1 to 12 because we have Beyond. I don't know.
That's true. Okay, so we're gonna do everything's separate. So there's 8 series and 1 category of movies. Okay. Siri, hi. Pick a number between 1 and 9. I should have.
Would be 5.
Did you hear that? I don't know. I can hold it.
Say 5.
5. That would be 5. So that's typically I think Enterprise, but it's Voyager.
Okay. All right. So
because
Voyager.
Yes, right? Yeah. No. That's DS9.
Oh. Right.
Sorry. TOS, TAS, TNG. No, DS9. No, it's Voyager. Yeah, it is
Voyager. It's Voyager. I was going to say, I can't speak. You
Ladies
can't
and
count.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Unready room. We're living up to our name.
That's why it's called this.
Okay, so 7 seasons. Here we go.
Okay.
Siri, give me a number between 1 and 7. Hold on. Please give me a number between 1 and 7, computer. Hello, computer. Hold on.
Someone hands Bruce a mouse.
Choose a number between 1 and 7. It's not working. I told you I need a new phone.
Huh.
Okay, let me try. Hold on.
Do you want me to do it?
Please pick a number between 1 and 7. It's not working. Okay, Brandi, you do it.
All right.
Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 7.
A random number between 1 and 7 is 5.
5.
Ooh, 5
Hey.
and 5.
So
So
that's season 5. There are 26 episodes in season 5.
how do you know that?
I have the list up, so we know
How
what
did you
episode.
know that so quickly? Let me try it one more time and let's see if my phone
He
works.
probably had a page
Please
open.
give
for
me a
every-
random number between 1 and 26. My phone is stupid. Okay, Brandi, do it.
Okay. Hey Siri, give me a number between 1 and 26.
A random number between 1 and 26 is 11.
11.
Ooh. What is it? What is it?
The episode is Latent Image, which is a fun one.
Image.
And interestingly enough, the episode before Bride of Chaotica. So I was like,
Weird.
Oh.
Random. Chaos. I love it.
Okay.
weird.
right. So yeah, we have the original series, The Corbomite Maneuver, thanks to Lawrence Todd. Hal Kane picked the TAS episode Yesteryear. We have Christopher Hill picked Star Trek Beyond, and random pick was Voyager Latent Image. So after we wrap up here, I will put out a tweet with the poll. I'll run it for 24 hours, and you can find that at Kertrats, Kertrats on Twitter. And I'm sure we'll all retweet it, and it'll be out there. So, yeah.
So I want to ask the chat, just curious, because I know you all are going to vote, but just as of right now, what would you vote for from that list, chat? I'm just curious. Yeah, I think it's always interesting when we do these to polls, because when you look at it shortly after the show, there's always something that takes like a really good lead, and you're like, oh, looks like that one's going to win. And then like 12 hours later, it's totally different.
Yeah. Interestingly, this last time, the two front runners were pretty close the whole way, even at the end.
Yeah.
Like it was close between the Andorian Incident and One Little Ship. Sorry, Chris Littlefield.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving seeing people vote for Yesteryear, because I think that's a lot of fun. I do love Corbomite Maneuver as well, though. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I would love to rewatch Star Trek Beyond. It's been a while. Latent Image is the episode where there's the Doctor starts having like random memory flashes of and following these clues, because there's this ensign that, you know, is not in the records or whatever. And he finds out that like a year earlier, he had to choose between saving her life and saving Harry Kim's life. And he chose Harry Kim's, but they were exactly equal chance of survival, and it made his program mess up. And so they had to delete all records and reset him, basically. A really good episode about, like, you know, the rights of holograms and is he a person and that kind of thing. So
Yeah. If that one wins, I'm going to need tissue.
Yeah.
It is a hard episode for me. I mean, not in a bad way. It's just emotionally hard.
Chris Littlefield has a good point here. I think I said Chris Littlefield. I don't know.
You did.
These are all good. Yes, they are very good episodes.
Yeah.
So I guess let's. Suzanne. That's just mean. So I guess if you guys want to tell people where they can find you, I'm sure everybody knows by now, but it's always good to end off with where we can get more Bruce and Brandi goodness on the internet.
Go ahead, Bruce. Go, Bruce. Go, Bruce. Go, Bruce.
Well, if you're looking for me, you can find me in Atlanta. I'm not going to give you my address. I never leave the house anymore, so. No, but online you can find me on Twitter at Admiral_Rex. You can find me occasionally doing the Star Wars Report podcast, and you can find me doing Literary Treks with Dan on Trek FM, the official Star Trek books and comics podcast of that network. And yes, Suzanne, Dragon Con. That's the only time I've seen you in person is at Dragon Con. And where else? Yeah, Live from the Edge. When there's new episodes of Discovery, Brandi and I do a live show. That's kind of what sparked this thing to continue going like this, because Trek FM didn't want to keep the live shows going with the line. So we're like, well, we'll just do it on our own somewhere else. And it just keeps going and going and going, because we don't always listen to what Trek FM says we want to do. And that's about it. That's where you'll find me.
Awesome. Brandi?
Oh, my turn? Okay. Twitter, BrandyWine12, lurking in the Babel Conference. You can hear me on what Bruce said someday, live Discovery show again. hopefully soon. Hopefully in the next few months. What else? Oh yeah, The Edge main show with my friends Liam and Nick. We have a great time discussing Star Trek Discovery overall. And our latest episode actually just dropped today, talking about the Klingons of Discovery.
Yes.
Yes.
I saw that.
We had a great time with that. We always have a great time. See, you can talk about something and have a great time doing it. I don't know if everyone understands that, because, that's what I enjoy. I'm doing this because I enjoy it, not because I hate it. So you can find me there on the Trek FM network. You can find me with my husband Dave on the Dark Corner podcast, where we talk about all kinds of nerdy stuff, and I swear. And also you can find me by myself on Headcanon, which is me by myself rambling and having thoughts and making people listen to it. So you can find those both at darkcornerpodcast.com.
I'm behind on podcasts because now I'm not commuting. I don't listen to podcasts as much.
I know. When I was homesick, and it wasn't COVID-19 according to the test I had, I got so behind on podcasts because I was still working from home.
Yeah.
But again, I listened to podcasts mostly when I commuted. So I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've had to carve out podcast listening time now that I'm not commuting every day. So yeah, it's tough. I got about 50 episodes behind at one point. It was actually weird. Just as an aside, like everyone's talking about like, have you heard of this COVID-19 thing? Oh, weird. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, my sweet summer child. You have no idea what's coming. I was living about a month in the past for a while there. That was weird. But when I'm not living a month in the past, you can find me on Twitter at Kurtrats, where, like I said, you'll find this poll for these episodes. You can find me on this channel doing videos with these wonderful people and other stuff as well. Literary Treks with Bruce, as he mentioned, and Positively Trek as well with Bruce. Absolutely loving doing that podcast. It's a lot of fun. It's like everything I've ever wanted to do in a podcast. I love it. So check that out.
Oh, I'm so touched.
I have really enjoyed listening to it. I will just say, and I really loved your most recent episode too, where you talked about Strange New Worlds and other news, and I just love you guys. I'll listen to you do anything.
Can we give Dan a little hint as to what's coming up on the next Positively Trek?
We're gonna have our first guest, which is kind of cool. So
cool.
That's all I want to say about that. I think.
You don't want to say anything else. You don't need to say who the guest is.
No, I don't know. It'll be the topic we're going to be talking about is something right up the alley of Positively Trek and making the world a better place and doing things that make the world a better place. I'll just repeat myself. Yeah. So.
Okay, I'm just going to give one little hint.
Okay.
This person has been on Star Trek.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Imagine that.
That's a stunner right there.
There you go. And other shows too. And movies.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. This has been a lot of fun as usual. Again, look for that poll. I should get it up in the next few minutes on at Kurtrats. So see you there. Vote early, vote often.
With all the accounts that you have.
Absolutely.